Hello and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne covering for Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in Anne Arundel Borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll discover how our school network is fostering self-empowerment among its K-12 students, paving the way for academic excellence. Following that, we'll explore Bronx Community College's Nuclear Medicine Technology program, including its offerings, the role of nuclear medicine technologists, and program growth. Later in the show, we'll explore the efforts underway to provide affordable domestically sourced energy to families and businesses, ensuring reliability. Then we'll gain insights into meningococcal meningitis, understanding its severity, the importance of vaccination, and recommendations from the CDC. Finally, we'll uncover initiatives aimed at addressing the pressing behavioral and mental health needs of children and adolescents in the Bronx. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on throughout this past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. We start with health news. NYC Health and Hospitals Lincoln, located in the South Bronx, has just welcomed their expanded lifestyle program. Our BronxNet reporter Brittany Schuyler Alleyne has more details.
New York City Health and Hospitals Lincoln, located in the South Bronx, has just welcomed their expanded lifestyle medicine program. Comprised of a robust team, the program takes up to 48 patients per month, hoping not to just make minor changes, but an overall lifestyle change.
At the end of the day, it's all about adding years to people's lives, yes, but also adding life to their years.
The main goal of this program is to aid in the improvement or potential reversal of chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. New York City Mayor Eric Adams took to the podium to discuss how a plant-based diet helped reverse his mother's type 2 diabetes and why it's crucial to him that New Yorkers see a life beyond prescriptions and injections.
That is just so powerful. And all of us, no matter who you are in this room, everyone knows someone that's going through a chronic disease right now.
New patient in the program, Raul, who was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, says he was reluctant at the idea of getting on medication given its complicated long-term effects. Now, he's excited to work toward a holistic approach to getting his health back on track.
I'm in the right place, and I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to participating in everything that they have to offer.
Before enrolling in the program, know that you can expect counseling sessions, exercise classes, culinary tutorials, produce deliveries, amongst other benefits. Adults living with pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, or health concerns related to excess weight are eligible to enroll now. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler.
Thank you, Brittany. In other news, New York City celebrates the 40th anniversary of the Percent for Art program and launches an interactive map and website. Our BronxNet reporter Kyrie Moody has the story.
The New York City Department of Cultural Affairs is here at Gracie Mansion to unveil a new interactive map in honor of the 40th anniversary of the Percent for Art program.
This is really a celebration for all New Yorkers to feel so much joy because public art brings an incredible source of inspiration to our everyday lives.
The Percent for Art program is geared towards bringing more public art to various spaces and all 5 boroughs here in New York City. Not only bringing them in as a new space, but transforming them into art.
I would love to see even more projects realized and developed all throughout New York City. It's important that we democratize public art so that everyone has an opportunity to experience public art in their own backyard.
Kendall Henry is the Assistant Commissioner for Public Art in the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. He shares his story.
It started way back when I was an intern at the Cultural Affairs at the Percent for Art program. And for about a number of years, and then I got hired after doing the internship to do a number of school projects. And so as a school manager, I left after 4 years and went to work for the MTA Art and Design program for about 11 years. And then after that, I left that and worked on my own for about 10 years. And I was asked by the then Commissioner, Tom Finkelpearl, to come back and run the Percent for Art program.
Hank Willis Thomas is an artist whose work has been featured within the Percent for Art program. Here's the inspiration behind his work.
Every day I wake up, I get to go out into the world and see beautiful things, whether it be buildings, billboards, sculptures, subway stations that people design with me in mind. And I love the fact that people think their job is to make the world more beautiful. And I wish that there were more people like that, and that's why I'm one of them.
The excitement for this 40th celebration of the Percent for Art program was felt in the room, and it was an even stronger excitement for the future. Reporting for BronxNet, Kyrie Moody.
Thank you, Kyrie. That's all for the Bronx updates. We have to take a quick break, but we'll have more open when we return.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
Welcome back. Family Life Academy Charter Schools is a network of K-12 public charter schools serving over 1,800 students. They empower their students to excel academically, take ownership of their learning, and uphold human values from kindergarten through college and beyond. Joining us now is the principal of Family Life Academy Charter School, Rachel Cotto-Nuñez. Rachel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you share with our viewers the mission of Family Life Academy Charter Schools and how it guides the work that you do?
Well, Family Life Academy Charter Schools, in partnership with the Latino Pastoral Action Center, they are our community partner. We believe in what you've already said, empowering children regardless of where they come from, what language they speak, what their cultural background is, or their socioeconomic position. We believe in them having ownership of their own learning and affirming human values like kindness, respect, empathy, and love.
Now, as you mentioned, it was founded in 2001 by the Latino Pastoral Action Center.
Yes.
Could you tell us more about the founding and the vision behind the establishment?
Yes, so the Latino Pastoral Action Center is the child of Bishop Reverend Raymond Rivera, who worked in that community and continues to work in that community as an activist. And there was a cry in the community for better schools, particularly for children of immigrant families and children who spoke a language other than English. And because of that outcry and the bishop's vision, the charter was written for Family Life Academy charter schools.
Now, I'm also going to call it FLAX just for short, but what sets FLAX apart from other schools? And could you highlight some of the unique programs, offerings, and educational philosophies that distinguishes FLAX?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is that we're community grown and community led. A lot of our staff are from the communities that we serve, and the leaders are from the communities that we serve or were. I, for one, was born and raised in Mott Haven, so I am a Bronx native, and it was very important for me in particular to have the children have people in front of them who look like them, sound like them, speak the same language, eat the same foods, so that they had someone to connect to. When I first became a teacher, my mother told me, if you're going to become a teacher, go where the children can see themselves in you. And FLAX has that. We have diverse staff, diverse children, but our families connect to us because we are community grown and community led.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the students? Because I feel that the students make a school. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the students enrolled? And, what grade levels does the school serve?
Yeah, so our schools run K through 12. We have 3 elementary campuses, 1 middle school, 1 high school. My school in particular, Flex 3, which is located in Mott Haven, serves a large population of West African children, as well as African American children, and our smallest population are Hispanic children.
Now, I think it's so amazing that there's so much diversity, and you mentioned a little bit like go where the kids can see themselves. Can you talk about, we talk about the importance of representation in movies, in books, but also in real life and in our schools. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that and, what that means to you?
Yeah, so it's important, having been born in Mott Haven and raised here. I took a class in Hunter College many years ago where a professor actually said nothing good ever came out of Mott Haven. And that really impacted me because I was born and raised here. We have Al Pacino who came out of here, Kerry Washington, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Director Gary Marshall. So many wonderful people and artists, musicians, authors who've come out of here, out of Mott Haven, and continue to come out of here. So we want to empower our children to be like them and be like us. If they see that we are school leaders or we are teachers, they can aspire to be that and a lot more. Our expectations are very high because it doesn't matter that we're located in the poorest congressional district. That doesn't matter. It's not despite that, it's regardless of that. Our children can succeed no matter where they're from.
Now, beyond academic achievements, in what ways do you observe FLAX students succeeding both inside and outside of the classroom?
So I think it's part of our social emotional learning that we instill in our children, having that empathy, that love, that respect for others, doesn't matter where you're from. And our name says it all. We're Family Life Academy, right? So we are a family. Your children are our children. Your kids are safe with us because we're going to ensure their success. But the other thing that I think really sets us apart is that our children are being prepared in the elementary school, for the middle school, for the high school, and for college. What better way than to guarantee your child's success in their educational career than to keep them with us in kindergarten all the way through 5th grade and then have guaranteed seats for 6 through 8 and 9 through 12.
And I want to expand on that. We've heard that FLAX will be opening a new high school in the fall. Can you share some insights into the process of establishing this new campus and what it will offer to students?
So it goes in line with when we founded in 2001, where there was a community outcry for better schools. And our families are always saying, well, we have them with you for elementary, but what about middle school? What about high school? We've even had parents ask about college. So they want us to expand because they want to keep their children with us.
And I think it's also really important for high school because I think for a lot of New Yorkers, especially in the Bronx, when you go to high school, it's like every time you mention any high school, it's always met with, ooh, that's a bad school. Like people have these ideas of Bronx high schools. So I think it's so amazing that we're kind of putting out new high schools so that kids aren't met with this this reaction like, oh, you're going to that school. It kind of gives something a little bit positive. So I think that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, is there any specific thing that you would like to add about FLAX or the broader FLAX network that we haven't covered yet?
Well, our network is small. We have 5 campuses. I can speak about FLAX 3 in particular. We are the smallest of the 5 campuses. We're a small school, a small network, but we have a big heart. like I mentioned before, your children are our children. We call them scholars, students, but when they come in through our doors, we say, hi, sweetie, hi, honey. They are our children, and we really believe in that. We want to love on them and inspire them to become something great in the future.
And then speaking of the future, what do you hope to see? Flax is expanding, and from 2001, although that was a long time ago, it's not that far. You know, it's a pretty new school system. You know, what do you hope to see for the future of Flax?
Well, we've stayed in the Bronx, but I would love for us to expand elsewhere so that we can continue the work that we're doing in other boroughs and maybe even upstate. Who knows?
That's amazing. And can you tell us a little bit more about how, you know, just Flax continues to develop, or how it contributes to the development of the Bronx?
So our founder is a community activist, and that's instilled in all of our schools. In our curriculum in particular, I'll pick social studies, for instance. Our children work on solving real world problems. So they learn about social studies and the history, but how they can help their community while they're learning about history.
That's amazing. And I just love to hear I've noticed that there are more schools popping up around the Bronx. And I think it's so amazing because, as I mentioned previously, a lot of Bronx schools get a bad reputation, especially when we get to the higher education, which is why I think it's so interesting and so unique that it's going from K through 12. Can you tell us a little bit, you know, your idea or your thoughts on the fact that it goes from K through 12?
It's the best way to ensure academic success. It's the best way to ensure that your children are getting an equal opportunity than other districts, same opportunities as other states, other boroughs. Keep them with us. We're gonna love on them from K through 12. And not only that, we have alumni that come back. In my particular school, we have a teaching assistant who was a graduate of the flagship school of Family Life Academy 1, and we're in 3, and she came back because she wanted to give back to the people that helped her become who she is.
That's amazing. I love to hear that. I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit of your community with us here at BronxNet.
Thank you so much for having us.
For more information, you can visit their website at flaxnyc.com and follow them on social media at flaxnyc. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Hello, BronxNet. Happy 30 years, 30-year anniversary. Boy, that went by fast. And also, my 10 years here at BronxNet has gone by even faster. I have a show called Just Give Me the Mic. My name is Deborah Coco, and I just love everything about BronxNet. What I've learned here, I've actually taken my studio production class, my field production class, and doing a show here has opened up so many avenues for me. It led me to acting and meeting some incredible people. I've been hosting and just having an incredible ride. So I still love coming to the studio and having my face-to-face interviews just like it was day one when I came into the studio. BronxNet has opened up so many opportunities for people within our community. But nonetheless, happy 30th anniversary, and keep on helping people to create their own dreams within the media industry.
Welcome back. Nuclear medicine is a rapidly growing subset of radiology, which involves the administration of radioactive pharmaceuticals by technologists to aid in the diagnosis and treatment of diseases. This field offers attractive salaries and abundant job opportunities. Notably, Bronx Community College hosts one of just 3 accredited programs in New York State. Joining us now is the Program Director of Nuclear Medicine Technology at Bronx Community College, Grace Tursi-Wenzler. Grace, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, can you provide an overview of what Nuclear Medicine Technologist does and the role they play in diagnosing and treating diseases?
Absolutely. So it's changed a lot over the last maybe 10, 20 years. And the fact that we really just used to help diagnose disease in a non-invasive way. So rather than having to physically open a patient up to see what's going on, we can now really determine the function of either organs or cells, and now specifically even tumor cells, or like diagnosing cancer. So that's really been a huge improvement of the field of nuclear medicine. But now we're actually even starting to target cells to really treat them and kill cancer cells and things like that as well. So it's also turned therapeutic over the last couple of years, which is exciting.
What sets the nuclear medicine technology program at Bronx Community College apart from others? And I also want to add, like, congratulations in just being one of 3. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And it's so cool that we have that here in the Bronx. So could you just, explain what sets this program apart from others?
Absolutely. So I think we're really a hidden gem, which is exciting. So like you said, we're only one of 3 programs in the whole state. So there's a program in Long Island, Malloy College, and then upstate in Buffalo. So there's really nothing in between. So it's exciting that we're putting out technologists really in this area, Manhattan area, Bronx, which is great. But it's exciting that we're also an associate's program. So students, once they have their prerequisites and get accepted, it's really just 2 years from that point in order to become certified and licensed as a nuclear medicine technologist.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. And it provides so much accessibility to people, so that's something that I love to hear.
Absolutely.
Now, how has the demand for nuclear medicine technologists evolved amidst the COVID-19 pandemic?
It is massively improved. So like when I graduated, it was around 2010, and there was a shortage of jobs in the New York area just because it was kind of saturated at that point. So over the years, though, it's really been expanding the field itself, which has been growing. And then when the pandemic hit, a lot of healthcare workers in general left the healthcare field. So that opened up a lot of positions in nuclear medicine, while we also had this new portion of our field that was opening called theranostics that, again, really allows us to expand upon cancer treatment and diagnosis. So as the COVID-19 pandemic was happening, that portion of our field was kind of expanding, leading to this huge opening of jobs in the field of nuclear medicine.
And I want to expand on that. What opportunities does this present for graduates of the program? And is there maybe something that the program does to help graduates in this regard? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the salaries have been incredible. The last 3 years, I would say especially, we've seen a huge jump in salary just because the jobs are in such demand right now, again, which is excellent. So as far as the students, they've been able to really obtain jobs pretty much wherever they want. Most of the students do stay in the New York area, but they're not obliged to do that as long as they, work out something with the Department of Health in a different state. They could theoretically work anywhere in the United States. So that's been exciting for job opportunities to see where students, go and progress. So that's been really exciting with the high job market demand, seeing students change jobs, in the process. So that's been great. So in addition to try to offer more job opportunities, we try to get students to rotate through a number of facilities during their internship so that they get to see, outpatient centers, inpatient, hospital settings, to see which they kind of prefer, and again, allow them to network and market a little bit better. Also, we just created a computed tomography certification, so students can also, if they choose, obtain this additional certification, allowing them to work in other areas of nuclear medicine as well.
Now, you talked about the internships. Can you expand on that a little bit more? Because the program itself is pretty exciting, but to actually have a little bit more hands-on training or experience is even more exciting. So can you tell us a little bit more about those internships and, what they require?
Absolutely. So during the second year of the program, students actually get to go work hands-on in different facilities in the nuclear medicine department. So we have a ton of different clinical affiliates, mostly in the Bronx, Manhattan area, where students rotate through to obtain their competencies, so demonstrating certain skills of different types of studies in nuclear medicine, and again, really getting a feel for what they like the best and what type of environment they want to work in. So right now, our students actually obtain 1,000 nuclear medicine hours in the clinical component, rotating through different facilities, getting that experience.
Now, in what ways does the program emphasize radiation safety and patient care, ensuring that graduates are well equipped to provide quality care while prioritizing safety? And I want to expand on that a little bit more, because you mentioned during COVID, a lot of people were leaving, and I imagine it had a lot to do with safety for themselves. So can you talk about how, you teach students to prioritize that?
Absolutely. It's definitely the priority of the program to expand and teach students how to not only protect the patient from, radiation safety and just, healthcare and patient safety in general, but of course, how to protect yourself as a technologist as well. So that is probably the biggest portion of our didactic coursework that we teach is radiation safety and protection. And then now we've added so much additional just healthcare precautions, especially in lieu of COVID, and just making sure that students are adequately prepared and trained both in the didactic and clinical settings.
Could you share some insights into the board examinations that students are eligible to sit for upon completing the program and becoming licensed nuclear medicine technologists?
Absolutely, and I apologize for the letters because there's so many acronyms in nuclear medicine. So we actually have 2 different board exams for nuclear medicine, which is unusual. There's only very few healthcare professions that do, but students only have to take and pass one of them. We recommend both, but that's a separate story. But either way, there are 2 different board exams that students can take to become licensed as a nuclear medicine technologist. One is the ARRT and the other is the NMTCB exam. We ensure that students are going to be adequately prepared to take and pass those exams once they graduate from the program. So that's really like one of our primary goals. So in addition, now with the additional computed tomography, it's known as like CAT scan certification. Once they pass their primary radiologic science, like their nuclear medicine exam, they can then sit for their CAT scan exam also. So they could potentially leave with all of those certifications.
Well, that's amazing. I'm like so shocked that this is right here in the Bronx. And I think that's so amazing, especially since when we think about Bronx and education, oftentimes people feel that it's very limited, especially with community college, and to know that there's something like this in a community college is amazing. Can you just tell us a little bit about, the importance of utilizing our community colleges, especially for experiences like this?
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many, again, like hidden gems, I feel like, on these community college campuses that not everybody knows about. So I so appreciate the opportunity to be here and share a little bit about it. But there are a ton of programs, especially in like the health field, which I guess I'm more familiar with it, but there are so many programs on these community college campuses that allow you to get these certifications and really make great salaries with a lot of job flexibility. And I think that it's definitely worth exploring.
Yes, and I definitely I started at community college, and I definitely think it's so helpful. I know people have this idea about it, but, just speaking with you here today, I'm even shocked about what's available. So I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing, with our community about this program, because I think it's something that people need to know that they have accessible to them. So thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me be here. I so appreciate it.
For more information, you can visit the website at bcc.cuny.edu. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open after this.
Congratulations to BronxNet on its 30th anniversary. And I'm blessed that I was here shortly after the beginning of BronxNet. At that time, I took the field and studio classes, and I spent a lot of time helping other people have shows before I put my toe in the water and decided to have a show for myself. For those of you who are familiar with the Blackwash Televised Art Gallery, that was my first show on my own. And now I am pumping up La Finca del Sur, doing Eating Healthy with La Finca del Sur on BronxNet's Channel 70. And I appreciate everyone watching.
Happy anniversary to BronxNet, 30 years. Wow, brings back so many memories. This exact studio that I'm in right now, I broadcast out of here. This must have been around 2003. I mean, time flies by so quickly. I started out here, it was either Mr. Gary Axelbank and Mr. Batch with Lady Morsar. We used to do a show here called In the Neighborhood. And I brought so many different guests on this show. To be able to bring your voice to the community is very powerful. To bring hip hop and spirituality, I brought my pastor in this same studio, Pastor Gino Jennings, and I'm sure you guys know who Pastor Gino Jennings is. That's rough. and some disciplined teaching. BronxNet is something that we need to uplift our communities, because this is a platform that we can come, and if you have a vision that's in your mind going into your heart, you can use it to do uplifting things for your community.
Welcome back. Reports have shown the clean power industry is bringing jobs, economic investment, and clean energy to states across the country. Joining us to discuss how clean energy projects benefit local communities and the careers of people living in these communities is the CEO of American Clean Power Association, Jason Grumet. Jason, thank you so much for joining me.
Kibin, great to be here.
Now, can you explain what clean power is and why it's important for our energy future?
Absolutely. So, look, the United States is an energy superpower, right? We are producing more energy as a country than any other nation in the world. And the fastest growing part of this new industry is clean power. We're talking about wind power, solar power, the big battery facilities that are used to make sure the power goes where we need to, when we need it. We're also building hundreds of manufacturing facilities that are bringing economic growth and jobs across the country. And also, one of the great things about clean power plants, no smokestacks, right? So we can talk a little bit about all the environmental benefits that are coming from this incredible growth.
Now, we will get into the environmental benefits, but I want to focus on the economic benefits. Can you elaborate on, some of these the benefits of using clean power both nationally and on a local level?
So let me just give you a little sense of, the present state of the industry, right? Right now, the industry employs about 500,000 people, and we are expecting that to double, right? 3/4 of all of the new power coming onto the electric grid last year was clean power. There have been $500 billion, with a B, $billion of announced investment in the new clean power sector over just the last 2 years, bringing billions of dollars of revenue to local communities, billions of dollars of local, payments to local landowners. Just in terms of the scope of the industry, it's basically enough power to power about half of the homes in the country. In New York State, which is a real leader in the sector, about 2 million homes are powered by clean energy. There's tens of millions of dollars of local taxes, a lot of it going into local and rural communities. Tens of millions of dollars of payments going to local landowners, oftentimes folks with small farms. I grew up in Rochester, New York, a lot of dairy farms where I'm from. And then new manufacturing, just one example. General Electric has just opened a brand new facility in Schenectady, which is building the wind turbines. And they are basically going to have 200 new employees in good full-time jobs, over $50 million of new investment in that facility. So we're seeing, jobs in terms of the manufacturing of the, components, jobs building the facilities, the construction jobs, and then jobs operating the facilities. And those are all big benefits to New York State.
Now, we've been hearing more about renewable farming lately. Can you share any success stories from local farms and farm owners who have embraced clean power practices?
Yeah, so look, it's a really important part of the story. I think, it's really tough to run a small family farm, right? If you look at, farming in America, a lot of farms are being bought up by the big multinational companies, and a lot of folks are just not able to sustain the economics of a small farm, and they're becoming, condos and strip malls. Clean power fits with farming. You can run a farm while you have, wind turbines or solar panels on the land. And farmers think about it as just another crop, right? It's a regular source of reliable income that often is the difference between balancing the books. And so, again, much of the actual clean energy production is happening in rural parts of the country. And the companies that we work with are really working hard to make sure that it's integrated into not just the economy, but also the culture of those communities.
How has the widespread adoption of clean power, such as renewables like wind and solar, transformed our energy landscape in recent years?
So again, the growth is spectacular, right? We are the fastest growing part of the energy sector. But it's not just any old energy, right? There's some really important attributes, right? The fuel is free. So once you build the facility, you have, predictable priced power. We're not dealing with, gasoline prices that are based on the whims of, foreign dictators. The projects are also clean. And this is incredibly important for local communities that are often located where there's, big power production, whether it's natural gas or coal. And, obviously a very significant benefit is there are no, emissions contributing to the climate change problem that the world is facing. And then, lastly, just really want to emphasize, it's homegrown energy, right? The national security benefits of having control over our own energy production are tremendous. And so clean power is part of a complicated system, right? We're not the only source of power out there, but we're growing every year and, really integrating with the other energy sources that are powering the country.
Now, I want to expand a little bit on something you mentioned, and that was climate change. We talked about the economic benefits, but I really want to focus on the environmental benefits, especially as more people begin to learn about climate change. They want to make efforts to be a little bit more environmentally conscious. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, look, so, the key to solving climate change is inventing and deploying technologies that provide all the benefits of any other source of power, but just do it cleanly. And so what, wind and solar and battery storage are able to do is basically power our economy with no pollution. Now, again, this is technologies that are growing and becoming, bigger and cheaper and larger. And so it's going to take, a couple of decades for us to really displace polluting power. But, if we can develop those technologies here and build those technologies and export those technologies, we're both helping the American economy. We're also helping the whole world decarbonize. But then there's also local pollution. Look, I know that, one of the unfortunate, challenges in the Bronx is air pollution, right? The name Asthma Alley is an unfortunate reality for a lot of families who are, faced with lots of urban pollution. Clean power does two things, right? It gets rid of the smokestacks. But the key to cleaning up a lot of urban areas is moving towards electric transportation, changing diesel buses to electric buses. And you need those buses to be powered with clean power, right? You don't want to create pollution in order to create the electricity to clean up those buses. And so there's a kind of a virtuous cycle of using clean power to clean up urban areas.
Now, for viewers who want to learn more about clean power and its benefits, where can they go for reliable information and resources?
Look, we would love people to check out fuelforthought.energy. It's a website that provides a lot of just general information, but also some pretty kind of compelling examples and stories of how people are finding economic benefit from this new industry. And we need to hire 500,000 folks. So if any of your viewers are interested in joining the clean energy workforce, they should go to cleanpowerinstitute.org, where they can get some ideas about how to become part of what we think is one of the best workforces in the country.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit more about this. And on top of that, giving resources at the moment where people can go to for employment. I think that's amazing. People are always looking for jobs, and this seems like a really amazing way to kind of be a part of what's happening in the future. So I want to thank you so much for joining us and kind of having this conversation.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
For more information, you can visit the website at Fuel for Thought Energy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
I remember when the Bronx did not really have a media outlet properly representing the people of the Bronx.
BronxNet provides for the community by being a community where people can be empowered to share their voices.
We are in a really great place technologically. We've got all the resources that we need to be effective.
Whether it's through cameras, storytelling, editing, we have provided those services for 30 years.
BronxNet's mission is to be a voice for the community.
To educate, to inform, and to inspire.
And you can be a part of it. We've built studios for you.
Welcome back. Did you know meningitis claims the lives of at least 1 in 10 infected individuals and leaves 1 in 5 with lasting disabilities. The CDC is contemplating updating age recommendations for meningitis vaccinations, potentially leaving numerous children and young adults vulnerable. One of our next guests contracted meningococcal meningitis during his college years, resulting in the amputation of all of his fingers and both feet. Here now to tell us more are meningitis survivor Jonathan DeGuzman and nurse practitioner Dr. Wendy Wright. I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Wright, could you please explain what meningococcal meningitis is and how it is contracted?
Yes, so meningococcal disease is a bacterial infection that is spread through respiratory droplets. So something as simple as sneezing or coughing can transmit this bacteria. But also it's acquired through kissing or through sharing of utensils or, soda bottles, things that adolescents often routinely engage in, which is what puts these adolescents at an increased risk. This bacteria can take the life of a healthy adolescent within 24 hours. And you said yourself, about 10 to 15% will not survive this bacterial infection. And if they do survive, about 20% or 1 in 5 are left with severe disabilities, including amputations that I know our colleague here today, Jonathan, is going to speak with you about. Our best defense is a good offense. So we've got a vaccine program that can help to prevent this in our at-risk population.
Yes, and I definitely want to say that, Jonathan, your experience with meningitis has been life-altering. Can you share with us how the disease has impacted your life and changed your perspective?
Yeah, and back in 2005, I was your normal college student, just turning in a paper for one of my classes, and I did have flu-like symptoms. And, like any normal person, just taking care of this flu, I just went home, drank plenty of fluids and rested, and I took a nap. But the next thing I remember, it was 12 days later, and I woke up from a coma, and doctors were frantic to save my life. And so in order to save my life, they had to amputate all 10 of my fingers and both of my feet, which was the result of this bacterial infection, which left me permanently disabled. So as a dancer before, I used dance hip hop, salsa, merengue. It really devastated me knowing if I'd ever dance again. So it not only affected me physically, but mental health wise, I had to relearn how to be normal again and how to kind of move forward and be independent. And so, I rely on prosthetic legs, but also I rely on wheelchair just to get me through a normal day and just to really use physical therapy and occupational therapy to help. Now I'm here with Dr. Wright, just really educating the community about the importance of this vaccination. And if I knew about it back in the day, I would have gotten vaccinated.
And I also want to expand on the fact that you mentioned that you were a college student, which means you're very young. Dr. Wright, the CDC is considering revising age recommendations for meningitis vaccinations. How might this potential change affect adolescents and other young people who are at increased risk, and what implications could this have for public health?
So today we give 11 to 12-year-olds what's called MenACWY. Protects against 4 strains or serotypes of bacterial meningitis. That's a great time to give it because 11 to 12-year-olds are often mandated to come in and get a Tdap or tetanus, which is mandated in many states. So we pair it together. Almost 90% of children actually get the meningitis vaccine at that time. Then we bring them back at 16 and we give them a booster. The purpose is to really carry them through that period of time, like Jonathan, when they're doing those activities that really keep them at a higher risk. The problem is only 61% actually come back and get that second dose. So if we eliminate the dose they're already getting at 90%, we very much fear, Jonathan and I, that we're going to lose the momentum that we have in this country. There is a 90% decline in bacterial meningitis since the introduction of the vaccine. So we don't think it's a good time to take our foot off the gas pedal, that we want to continue to protect with both of these doses to give our adolescents the most optimal protection that we can give them.
And Jonathan, expanding on that, what message do you have for parents and young adults about the importance of vaccination?
Yeah, definitely for sure. For me to educate the community, I would say parents to talk to their healthcare providers about, asking about this vaccination, especially for their young children, and for the young adults to really, tap into their resources on campus about, especially in their healthcare department, about, vaccinations that are required or anything like that. Just to really get the mouth out there of just information of that this vaccine is available and that this can be prevented.
Dr. Wright, could you elaborate on the different causes and risk factors of meningitis, just to let people know maybe what are some signs or some symptoms that people can look for?
Sure. So talking today about bacterial meningitis, it's a rapidly progressing infection. Oftentimes, by the time we know they have bacterial meningitis, it's often very, very advanced. So headache, high fevers. You heard Jonathan today, flu-like symptoms. And so I tell my team every day in my clinic, don't make me have to diagnose it, because I bet I'll miss it, because it looks like everything out there, everything else, until it doesn't. So getting our children at 11 to 12 and 16 up to date with those vaccinations gives us the best opportunity to prevent this from happening. Today, Jonathan and I are partnering with Sanofi to urge the ACIP committee to really look at the successes that we've had with this vaccination program and to not change it. And for our viewers, if they're interested in more information, they can go to bit.ly/meningitis vaccination, and there'll be lots of great information for them.
And Jonathan, I just want to mention that you've shown incredible resilience and determination in overcoming the challenges posed by meningitis. Can you just tell us, how do you approach your role as a state employee helping those with disability, and what motivates you to continue to do this work?
I think also education is really important. For me, being a voc counselor for the state of California, I just really like providing the service of helping individuals with disabilities find employment, but I'm also working with students between the ages of 16 to 22. So, I do speak with parents about, pre-employment transition services, but also, when they want to talk about, my disability, I do talk to them about, oh, the vaccine is there and it's available, and, just kind of a cautionary tale of letting people know that this vaccine is available. Just being an educator and partnering with Dr. Wright about, this information and that it is preventable, that's my goal for this year.
And Jonathan, I want to thank you, just for taking the time to speak with us, share a little bit about your journey, and, really talk about the importance of educating the community, as well as Dr. Wright. I want to thank you as well for taking the time to educate our community and really let people know the importance of vaccinations and just letting people know why it's important to stay on top of your health, especially when we're talking about adolescents and young people. It's a demographic that doesn't often think about health, but I feel that this segment has really shown why it's important to. So I want to thank you both so much for your time.
We thank you for having us.
For more information, you can visit the website at bit.ly/meningitis vaccination. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this. Welcome back. In the U.S., nearly 160 million people, including all Bronx children, reside in areas with a shortage of mental health care professionals. Recent news from Montefiore reveals plans for a new pediatric inpatient psychiatry unit aiming to address the urgent behavioral and mental health needs of Bronx children and adolescents. Here now to tell us more is the Unified Executive Administrator of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Montefiore Health System, Salimah Velji. Salimah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Now, can you provide an overview of the new pediatric inpatient psychiatry unit that Montefiore is planning to establish in the Bronx?
Absolutely. So we are in the planning stages of opening a 21-bed child and adolescent unit for kids aged 5 to 17 years old. This will provide intensive treatment for people with serious behavioral health conditions, including severe depression, anxiety, trauma, those having suicidal thoughts, and other acute psychiatric issues. This will be located at the New York City Children's Center in the Bronx, and it'll be serving over 350 kids per year.
Now, what prompted the decision to create this unit?
It's a great question. Currently, as you may know, we are underbedded in the Bronx, meaning we don't have the capacity or the number of beds available close to home in the Bronx community. So oftentimes our children in the Bronx and other places are waiting in emergency rooms, waiting to get connected to care, and often traveling far from home, both their kids and their families. So really providing this unit and developing this unit will allow us to have beds closer to home for kids that need them and reduce the stress for both the kids and their families for traveling to have to leave the Bronx to access this level of care.
Now, I understand that there was funding for this initiative and it was $6 million. Can you explain, what effect you see it having on addressing the mental health needs of children and adolescents in the Bronx?
Absolutely. So the $6 million in funding is for capital investments to renovate the unit and to make it a comfortable unit for kids with this level of care in the acute setting. So it's to create these 21 beds, the infrastructure for those beds, the rooms for those for the type of care we're going to have, whether it's group therapy, family therapy, and really the idea is to make this environment comfortable for kids in these distressed states. So as just an example, we're working with our arts and integrative therapy group to actually think about how to create art from kids that are actually struggling with mental health issues and to be able to put that in that space to, again, make people relate to the space, make it familiar, make it comfortable, and make it therapeutic.
And I'm just curious to know, what are some ways that this may differ from an adult center that focuses on, mental health and psychiatry?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the environment will definitely be different. I think it'll be more colorful. It'll have different components. There's also going to be some functional things. So, for example, kids will be accessing education in school through our unit. We'll have creative licensed arts therapists, so folks that are trained to provide therapy through fine arts and music. And that is something we have in the adult setting, but I think will be even more prominent in the children's setting. And I imagine there'll be more opportunities for community and interactions in our community rooms. So there'll be more play-based items. There'll be access to playground outside, and of course, access to a gym. So a few other perks, I think that'll be really helpful and healing for our children in this space.
Now, could you elaborate on how Montefiore plans to provide culturally attuned and inclusive care within the pediatric psychiatry unit, especially considering the diverse population it serves in the Bronx?
Absolutely. So this is definitely a familiar mission to us, of course, providing care for our underserved communities and diverse communities. I think that we will certainly have staff that are diverse. We will have bilingual care and culturally attuned care in that way. We'll be innovating in this space. So I think one of the things that you may know is that we've already been very innovative at Montefiore in the child and adolescent mental health space. We had the first DBT program in the country. So to be able to extrapolate that and to provide that level of, state-of-the-art care in our community, I think will set the bar for how children in mental health care should be provided and hopefully be extrapolated to other urban diverse communities.
Now, how does Montefiore envision collaborating with community partners to ensure the success and sustainability of this initiative?
So that's a crucial point. Oftentimes when people leave our emergency rooms or inpatient settings, the most important thing to keep people stable is to have those connections to community organizations. We're fortunate that we work hand in hand with our community organizations all the time. So we'll be doing that in addition to connecting people to other levels of care that exist within our system. So whether that's outpatient, traditional outpatient care, whether that's intensive outpatient care where people are being treated for several hours of therapy over a number of weeks, or urgent care settings. So we'll be able to help bridge those connections. And I think we'll have staff that are trained to do that, just exactly that, to work with community organizations, to make sure people are connecting to care that they need, and also connecting them to different levels of care, whether that's stepping down, having less intense care, or stepping it up and providing more acute intensive care.
Now, what message would you like to convey to the families and communities in the Bronx who may benefit from the services provided by Montefiore's new pediatric psychiatry unit? And I also want to emphasize the importance of family in this situation, especially here in the Bronx. Mental health is a hard thing to address for a lot of people. So, what message would you like to convey to these families?
I think Montefiore would like to convey that we're here for you. This is a partnership when it comes to addressing mental health. When we take care of our kids in the medical settings and in the psychiatric settings, we know that we're taking care of families. And that it's super, super important for families to know that we're engaged in this care with you. We're partners with you. We want to provide this care closer to home. We want to reduce the stress that our patients and families have. And we're really here for you. And I think very open to continuing to learn and evolve our care so that it's meeting the needs of our communities, and in particular understand the importance of this family partnership.
And lastly, do you have any goals, specific goals or milestones that you can share that Montefiore has set for the pediatric psychiatry unit in terms of patient outcomes and community impact?
Absolutely. So just from a timeline perspective, we're currently working on our different applications for regulatory approval. Once we have those approvals in place, we'll be starting construction, and we're already underway with operational planning to have different clinical workflows designed so that we can hopefully open the unit within the year of 2025. In terms of outcomes, we are looking at a variety of things, whether that's reduced length of stay in emergency departments, the readmission rates, when people are leaving our units, the ability for them to stay stable and not come back to the unit quickly, so 30-day readmission rates, and patient satisfaction. I think we're going to be really thinking about how to make sure the patient and family experience is unparalleled. So, that'll be a goal to sort of look at all of those things, both clinical outcomes, operational measures, and then also thinking about our patient experience and our patient and family experience.
Well, I just want to emphasize, the importance of this initiative. Mental health is something that I think our society is moving forward and closer to, and just understanding and providing treatment for so many different types of people. So I want to thank you so much for joining us and kind of letting the Bronx know what is out there for them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
For more information, you can visit the website at psychiatryassociates.montefiore.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast on Optimum Channel 67 or Verizon Fios Channel 2133. This wraps up this episode. I'm Kibin Alleyne. Make sure to keep this channel wide open. Take care.